The first thing I noticed was the silence. Not the ordinary kind you get in a small Ohio neighborhood after midnight, the hum of crickets, the faint highway noise, a dog barking somewhere down the block. No, this was heavier. The kind of silence that feels staged, like someone turned the volume of the world down right before something bad happens. I pulled into the driveway, my old Ford coughing like a dying bull. The dashboard clock glowed 11:52 p.m. 23 years of marriage, and my wife still couldn't be bothered to leave the porch light on. The house sat there in darkness, quiet as a tomb, except for the faint blue flicker from our daughter's upstairs window. I killed the engine, stepped out, and breathed in the cold September air. My hands smelled of grease and iron, every mechanic's perfume. I should have been thinking about the 2 cars waiting for me at the shop tomorrow, about overdue bills, about how long my back could keep crawling under hoods. Instead, I felt something clawing at my chest. A warning. The front door opened before I reached the steps. Dad? Amelia. 21, college sophomore, usually composed, but tonight she looked like a storm. Mascara streaks down her cheeks, shoulders trembling, clutching something small and metallic in her fist. My stomach sank. What happened? Are you hurt? She shook her head. It's Mom. Her voice cracked like glass. I found something. The words knocked the air out of me. I set down my toolbox, stepped closer, and reached for her. She pulled back like I'd burned her, then thrust the object into my hands. A digital camera. Old, scuffed, one Marty used to take vacation photos. I was using her laptop for a project, Amelia said, wiping her eyes with her sleeve. The files were hidden. Videos. I shouldn't have clicked, but, Dad, she's cheating on you. I froze. My first thought was no. Not Marta. Not after 23 years. My second was, why does my daughter have to be the one to tell me this? Are you sure? The question sounded weak, even to me. Her chin quivered. It's him. Rick Patterson. From her office. The one with the BMW. Rick. Smooth-talking, $1,000 suit Rick. I'd shaken his hand at company banquets, felt my skin crawl at the fake charm. Amelia's breath hitched. She wasn't just with him. They were laughing about you, Dad. About us. About everything. I stared at the tiny screen as if it might bite. My finger hovered over the play button but wouldn't press. 23 years of birthdays, anniversaries, and kids' school plays, all waiting to collapse with one click. Amelia touched my arm. There's more. They talked about leaving together. About divorce lawyers. About taking half of everything. Her voice cracked again. I didn't want to know, but I thought you should. The porch light across the street flicked on. Mrs. Falco, 70, neighborhood hawk, peered through her curtains. She'd know by morning. I forced my voice steady. Go inside, sweetheart. Lock the door. I'll take care of this. Dad, what are you going to do? I looked up at our dark house, at the windows that once meant safety, at the wife who, at this very moment, slept peacefully in our bed while our world disintegrated downstairs. I wanted to say I don't know. But deep down, in a place I'd buried years ago back in Frank Torino's boxing gym, I knew exactly what I was going to do. Amelia hesitated, searching my face for reassurance I couldn't give. Then she slipped inside, leaving me alone on the porch with the camera. I sat in the garage until dawn, staring at that screen, listening to the house creak and groan. I didn't need to press play to know the truth anymore. My wife wasn't just cheating on me, she was erasing me, laughing about me, and planning to take my life apart piece by piece. And in that moment, something inside me hardened. The man who fixed engines for a living, who endured whispers that his wife was too good for him, who swallowed disappointment for decades, he was gone. In his place was someone sharper. Someone who'd stopped believing in mercy. The silence that night hadn't been an accident. It was a warning. And I was done ignoring it. Morning sunlight bled through the kitchen blinds, painting the counters in stripes of pale gold. The smell of coffee filled the air, bitter and sharp. I hadn't slept. I'd sat in the garage all night with that cursed camera on the workbench, the screen still black, daring me to press play. I never did. I didn't need moving pictures to tell me what my daughter's tears already had. At 7:10 sharp, I heard the upstairs bathroom door click open. Marta's footsteps followed, steady and practiced. 23 years of routine, shower, blow-dry perfume, suit. She came down the stairs looking like she always did, immaculate. Her navy jacket hugged her shoulders, her hair pulled into a no-nonsense knot. She might as well have been going on stage. "Morning," she said, sliding her travel mug under the coffee pot without meeting my eyes. I studied her, searching for cracks in the performance. The woman who'd once laughed at my grease-stained hands, who used to steal fries from my plate, now stood across from me like a stranger in designer heels. "Morning," I replied, my voice even. Too even. She tapped through emails on her phone. "I'll be late tonight. Big presentation tomorrow. Rick's leading it, so I'll be at the office helping him prep." "Rick." "Of course." She said his name like it was just another colleague, not the man she tangled the sheets with. For a heartbeat, her hand hesitated on the lid of her mug, like she was checking if I'd flinch. I didn't give her the satisfaction. Instead, I leaned against the counter, arms folded. "Rick's talented, isn't he?" That got her attention. Her eyes flicked up, just for a second, calculating. "He's a strong speaker. Makes clients feel comfortable." "Why?" I shrugged. "Just wondering about the people you spend so much time with." She smiled, the kind you practice in mirrors. "It's business, Danny. Don't overthink it." Then she kissed my cheek, light, rehearsed, soulless, and walked out the door with the same click I'd heard every weekday for 2 decades. The house went still again, except this time the silence was mine. I drove to the shop early, tools clattering louder than usual, hands working faster than the engines in front of me. Customers came and went, their chatter fading into background noise. All day I kept hearing Amelia's voice. She was laughing about you, Dad. Planning everything. By noon, I checked my phone half a dozen times, waiting for Marta's inevitable text, "Working late. Don't wait up." It came at 5:36 p.m., right on schedule. But instead of heading home, I found myself parking 2 blocks from Hartwell Industries, across from the glass tower that swallowed Marta every morning. At 6:05, I saw her emerge through the revolving doors, Rick beside her. He was taller in person than I remembered, his suit crisp enough to slice bread. They walked shoulder to shoulder, heads bent close, like conspirators who'd already won. I gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles ached. My first instinct was to storm across the street, drag her into the light, and demand answers. But instinct hadn't gotten me this far. Instead, I stayed put, hidden behind a half-dead oak tree, and watched. They climbed into his BMW, laughing. I tailed them from a safe distance, my Ford rattling like an old hound stalking wolves. They went to an upscale Italian place downtown, white tablecloths, valet parking, the kind of spot Marta had once claimed was too showy for people like us. From the curb across the street, I saw Rick feed her forkfuls of tiramisu, saw her lean into him with that unguarded smile she hadn't given me in years. And then my phone buzzed. A text from Marta. Working late. Might not be home until midnight. I stared at the glowing lie, then lifted my camera, the one Amelia had handed me, now turned against its owner. I snapped a photo through the restaurant window, Marta's hand resting over Rick's, candlelight catching her wedding ring. "Smile," I muttered. "You just gave me Exhibit A." When I finally made it home, Amelia was waiting in the living room, curled on the couch in an oversized hoodie. She sat up, eyes searching mine. Did you see her?" I hesitated, then nodded. "Yeah. I saw enough." Her throat tightened, but she didn't cry this time. "What are you going to do, Dad?" I sat beside her, the weight of decades pressing on my chest. For years I'd thought silence kept peace. That swallowing bitterness was love. But now I knew silence was how you became invisible in your own home. I'm going to make sure she never laughs at us again, I said quietly. The words hung in the room like thunder before a storm. Amelia leaned against me, and I wrapped an arm around her shoulders, the first solid thing I'd done in months. Some battles you didn't pick. Some battles came to your front door in the hands of your daughter. And once they did, there was no turning back. Sunday dinners used to mean something. Back when the kids were younger, Marta and I had a rule: no phones, no television, just family around the table. For a couple of hours, we were 4 people sharing stories and laughter instead of rushing through life. Those dinners had faded over the years, whittled away by Marta's late meetings and Ross's college schedule. But tonight, both kids were home, and Marta insisted we do it the old way. The roast chicken sat untouched in the center of the table. Ross poked at his plate, Amelia kept her eyes on her fork, and Marta carved each bite with surgical precision. The air felt heavy, like a courtroom before the verdict. So, Marta said finally, her tone light but her jaw tight. Mrs. Chen at the salon told me you stopped by earlier this week, Danny. With flowers. I didn't look up from my potatoes. That's right. Her knife paused mid-cut. Strange. Our anniversary isn't until March. I know, I said, meeting her gaze. I was feeling nostalgic. Her lips tightened into a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Nostalgic about what? About how things used to be. About when I knew the woman sitting across from me. The room went still. Ross looked up from his phone, frowning. Are you guys fighting? Marta let out a brittle laugh. Of course not. Your father's just tired. I set down my fork. No. We're not fighting. We're finally telling the truth. Her eyes widened, then narrowed, the calculation in them almost audible. Danny, I know about Rick. The words dropped like a hammer. Amelia flinched, Ross's mouth fell open, and Marta froze, knife still in hand. What are you talking about? She asked softly, but her voice quivered at the edges. I know, I said, each syllable deliberate, that you've been lying to me. To all of us. I know you weren't working late. I know you've been planning to leave. And I know you thought I was too blind to see it. Her face went pale, then crimson. Kids, go upstairs. No, I said firmly. They stay. They deserve to know who their mother really is. Marta slammed her knife onto the plate, the sound sharp as a gunshot. You bastard. I reached into my jacket and laid a manila envelope on the table. Photos. From the restaurant. From Rick's condo. Very tasteful shots through those wide-open windows. Ross's eyes darted to the envelope, then back to me. Dad? I spread the photos across the table like playing cards. Candlelit dinners. Hands entwined. A kiss at the window. Marta's mask cracked. Her hand flew to her mouth, shoulders shaking. Danny, please, not done. I pulled out a small recorder, set it down, and pressed play. Her voice filled the room, cruel and unguarded. Dan's so pathetic. Doesn't realize everyone laughs at him. Rick's laugh followed, mocking and smug. Ross shoved his chair back, his face drained. Amelia closed her eyes, jaw trembling. I stopped the recording. The silence that followed was heavier than any words. You were going to take everything, I said. The house. The business. Even our kids' respect. But you didn't count on one thing. Marta's tears streamed freely now. I'm sorry, Danny. I was lost. No. You were found. By him. I pointed to her frozen smile in one of the photos. And you liked it. You liked tearing me down. Ross stood abruptly. I can't. He stormed upstairs, the slam of his door rattling the walls. Amelia, however, stayed rooted. She looked at Marta, eyes full of something harsher than anger. How could you? Marta reached for her daughter, but Amelia pulled back. Don't. Just don't. The betrayal stung more than my words ever could. I stood, gathering the evidence into the envelope again. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to pack a bag tonight and leave. You can go to Rick's or anywhere else. But not here. This is my house too, she whispered. Actually, no. The deed's in my name. You were too busy climbing the corporate ladder to bother with paperwork. Her face crumpled. Danny, please. I leaned closer, my voice low and final. The man you laughed at? The man you thought was too weak to fight back? He's gone. And if you stay another night under this roof, you'll see just how wrong you were. Marta's tears turned to silent sobs. She rose from the table and stumbled upstairs, the weight of 23 years dragging behind her. When the door finally slammed shut with her suitcase in hand, Amelia whispered, Dad, what happens now? I looked at her, at the doorway where Marta had vanished, at the broken family around me. No, I said, we stop being her victims. And we start taking back our lives. By Monday morning, Millfield was already buzzing. In a town this small, secrets didn't stay buried, they sprouted like weeds. Mrs. Falco's curtains twitched when I left for work, and by noon, 3 different customers had found excuses to mention rough patches in marriage. I didn't confirm or deny. I just kept my head down, wrench in hand, while words spread faster than gasoline on asphalt. Marta hadn't called. Not once. But Rick Patterson did. He showed up at my shop at 3:15. Pulling in with his BMW that looked too clean for a man who lived so dirty. He stepped out wearing his arrogance like cologne. Danny, he said, smoothing his tie. We need to talk. I wiped grease off my hands slowly. Don't think we do. Yes, we do. He glanced at the open garage, at the few customers within earshot. Privately. Against my better judgment, I led him to the back office. He closed the door behind us, lowering his voice. Look, I get it. You're angry. But dragging Marta's name through the mud? Spreading photos? That's... I cut him off with a short laugh. You don't get to lecture me about decency, Rick. Not after sneaking around with my wife. He stiffened, then leaned forward. You're playing with fire. If you don't stop, I'll sue you for defamation. I leaned closer, eye to eye. Try me. I've got enough proof to wallpaper the courthouse. For the first time, he faltered. His polished smile slipped. Leave me, my kids, and my business alone, I said quietly. Or I'll burn every bridge you've ever built. Starting with Hartwell Industries. His jaw tightened, but he didn't speak. He turned on his heel and left, the click of his expensive shoes echoing like hollow threats. That night, Amelia found me in the garage again, tinkering with a carburetor I'd already fixed twice. You're scaring me, Dad, she said softly. I set the wrench down, sighing. Why? You're different. Sharper. Like, every word you say is a warning. Maybe I'm just tired of being the guy people walk over. She hugged her hoodie tighter. I want you to fight, but not lose yourself doing it. Her words landed harder than Rick's threats. For years I'd been invisible. Now that I wasn't, I worried what my kids might see instead, a man fueled only by bitterness. The next day, I put on my cleanest shirt and drove downtown. Hartwell Industries loomed over the skyline, glass and steel glinting like a crown. I asked to see James Dorsey, Marta's supervisor, and within minutes I was sitting in a corner office overlooking the city. I slid a plain envelope across his desk. Your employees, Marta Kowalski and Rick Patterson, have been conducting an affair. And in the process they've been reckless. Here's proof. He opened the envelope, glanced at a single photo, and paled. Good God, there's more, I said, lowering my voice. Audio of them discussing confidential client information. You don't want that liability. I hadn't actually heard them mention client names, but Dorsey didn't need to know that. His face hardened with corporate calculation. Thank you, Mr. Kowalski. We'll handle this internally. By the time I walked out, I knew Marta and Rick's careers were already finished. But victory didn't taste sweet. That night, I sat in my empty living room, silence pressing down like an old enemy. For the first time in weeks, the kids weren't home, Ross back at school, Amelia at a study group. The house groaned with loneliness, every framed photo on the wall staring at me like witnesses. I poured myself a beer and sat in the dark, wondering who I'd become. A husband? No. A victim? Not anymore. A father? Always. But beyond that, I didn't recognize the man in my own skin. The phone rang. Marta's voice, raw and panicked, filled the line. You ruined me, Danny. They fired me. Fired Rick. Do you know what you've done? Yes, I said flatly. You think you've won? I'll take you for everything in the divorce. I swear, with what money? What lawyer will touch you now? The line went silent, then dead. I set the phone down slowly. My hands trembled, not with fear, but with something heavier. Emptiness. I destroyed her carefully built world, but mine was still cracked. The revenge wasn't enough. Not yet. The real climax wasn't about what happened to Marta or Rick. It was about whether I could salvage what was left of myself, and my family, before the fire I'd started consumed me too. Rain hammered the roof like a war drum. It was the kind of storm Millfield only saw a few times a year, sky split open, lightning tearing through the clouds, thunder rolling over the town like Judgment Day. Marta showed up at my doorstep that night, hair plastered to her face, mascara streaking down her cheeks. She didn't knock. She slammed her fists against the door until I opened it. You think you've won? She shouted over the rain. I said nothing. Just stood there in the doorway, watching water drip from the woman who used to be my wife, my partner, the mother of my kids. They fired me, Danny. Do you understand? 20 years of work, gone. Rick's gone, too. Packed up and left town like I was a bad investment. And you. Her voice cracked into a sob. You did this. I stepped aside. Come in before the neighbors start filming. You've given them enough of a show. She stormed past me, her heels clattering on the hardwood. The house felt smaller with her in it, like the walls wanted her gone as much as I did. You destroyed my career, my reputation. You poisoned the kids against me. No, I said quietly. You did that yourself. Her hands trembled as she pointed at me. I made one mistake, one? My voice cut through her words like a blade. One mistake doesn't last months. One mistake doesn't come with hotel receipts and phone records. One mistake doesn't laugh at her husband behind his back. She flinched, tears spilling freely now. I was invisible, Danny. Do you know what that feels like? To come home every day to a man who looks past you. Who buries himself in engines and grease while you're... I slammed my hand on the table, rattling the glasses. Don't you dare make me the excuse for your betrayal. I worked my hands raw to build this life. For you. For us. And while I was breaking my back, you were breaking our family. The storm outside roared, thunder shaking the windows. Marta sank into a chair, shoulders caving, mascara smudged into shadows beneath her eyes. For the first time, she looked small. Not powerful. Not ambitious. Just broken. I lost myself. She whispered. No, I said. You sold yourself? We sat in silence, the storm filling the spaces between us. For years, I'd imagined moments of reconciliation, of forgiveness. But staring at her now, I realized there was no path back. What lay between us wasn't marriage anymore, it was ash. The front door creaked. Amelia stood there, soaked from running through the rain. She froze, eyes darting between us. Mom? She asked, voice trembling. Marta stood quickly, reaching for her. Sweetheart. But Amelia pulled back, shaking her head. Don't. Please. The rejection hit Marta harder than anything I'd said. She staggered as though the air had been punched from her lungs. Amelia, I said softly, go upstairs. This isn't your fight. No. She lifted her chin. It's mine too. She's my mother. She lied to both of us. The storm's thunder rolled again, and Marta collapsed into the chair, sobbing. I didn't mean to hurt you, she whispered. But you did, Amelia said, her voice steady. You hurt all of us. Something broke in Marta then, something deeper than anger or pride. She buried her face in her hands, her sobs muffled against the storm. I stood, my decision carved into stone. This ends tonight. You'll sign the papers. You'll walk away. And you'll leave what's left of this family intact. She looked up, eyes bloodshot, lips trembling. And if I don't? I stepped into the light, the storm behind me flashing through the windows, outlining me in shadow. Then you'll see just how much fight I've got left. For a long moment neither of us moved. Then Marta lowered her gaze. The fight drained out of her like rain down the gutter. I'll sign, she whispered. I nodded once. Good. She rose unsteadily, walked to the door, and paused. I loved you once, Danny. I met her eyes steady. Then you should have fought for us, instead of against us. She opened the door. Rain swallowed her as she stepped into the storm. Amelia clung to me, trembling. Is it over? I wrapped my arm around her, watching the rain erase Marta's silhouette into the night. Yes, I said. It's over. But deep down, I knew it wasn't just an ending. It was the moment the fire inside me finally burned itself out, leaving only the man I had to become from here on. The rain eased by morning, leaving the world washed raw and silent. Puddles mirrored the bruised sky, and the smell of wet asphalt clung to the air. Marta's absence hung in every room, but not like a wound anymore, more like a scar beginning to close. Amelia shuffled into the kitchen in her sweatshirt, hair tangled from sleep. She poured herself cereal and sat across from me, her eyes swollen but dry. Did she call? She asked. I shook my head. She won't. Not after last night. Amelia nodded slowly, spoon clinking against the bowl. For a while neither of us spoke. And then she whispered, I'm proud of you, Dad. The words nearly broke me. After everything, the betrayal, the rage, the emptiness, that simple sentence landed heavier than all of it. Ross came home the next weekend, carrying the awkward energy of someone caught between loyalty and grief. He didn't ask questions, he didn't need to. Kids always know more than you want them to. We grilled burgers in the backyard, the three of us sitting at the same weathered picnic table that had seen birthday parties and summer nights. This time there were no sharp words, no secrets buzzing beneath the surface. Just quiet conversation, laughter even, hesitant at first but real. For the first time in years, I felt like their father again, not just a man holding the roof over their heads. Life didn't magically fix itself. Gossip still echoed in the aisles of Millfield's grocery store. Some people offered pitying looks, others whispered. I let them. A man can't control the stories people tell, only the way he lives after the truth comes out. At the shop, customers trickled in as always. Engines didn't care about heartbreak. They just broke, and I fixed them. Grease under my nails, sweat on my back, it felt good to be steady again, grounded in something honest. And then one evening, as I was locking up, she walked in. Her name was Sarah Mitchell. Auburn hair pulled into a messy ponytail, jeans and a worn sweater, a kindness in her eyes I hadn't seen in a long time. Her Honda had died a mile up the road, and AAA told her to try the best mechanic in town. Best mechanic, huh? I said, smiling despite myself. Well, she laughed. They also said you were the only one still open, but I'm choosing to be optimistic. Something about her laugh chipped away at the walls I'd built around myself. I fixed her alternator while she sat on a crate, talking about her students, her new apartment, her plans to get a dog when she could afford it. She'd been through her own wreckage, gambling husband, lost savings, a fresh start in a town where no one knew her story. Sometimes life kicks you in the teeth, she said. The question is whether you stay down or stand back up. I tightened the last bolt, wiped my hands on a rag, and looked at her. Guess I'm standing. She smiled in that unpolished, genuine way. Then maybe we should stand together. Dinner sometime? It wasn't a spark of romance yet, more like the first flicker of hope in a long, dark tunnel. That night, I sat on my porch with a beer in hand, the street washed clean, the air cool against my skin. Across the way, Mrs. Falco's curtains twitched, of course they did, and I raised my bottle to her silhouette. She'd keep talking, and the town would keep listening, but for once, I didn't care. Marta had gambled everything and lost. Rick had vanished like smoke. And me? I was still here. Still standing. Still rebuilding. The storm had come and gone, leaving destruction in its wake, but also clarity. For years, I'd been living in silence, invisible in my own home. Now the silence felt different. Not emptiness. Not loss. But space for something new to grow. I looked down at my hands, calloused and scarred, the same hands that had built engines and carried children, the same hands Marta had once mocked as small-town hands. Turns out, those hands were enough. I leaned back in my chair, listening to the night settle into itself, and thought sometimes the best revenge isn't fire or fury. It's living better than they ever imagined you could. And for the first time in a long time, I believed it.